Hi everyone, welcome to Land and Sea. I'm Jane Adey. This week we're in Makkovik on Labrador's north coast. We're going to introduce you to a woman whose life has been shaped by her passion for Inuit art and craft, a passion that has influenced and inspired her entire family. It's early June in Makkovik. Snow still clings to the mountains in this isolated town. The only way in is by boat or by plane. Komatiks, busy all winter hauling wood, now rest, as locals pick up springtime activities. The char has come early this season, and the community is eager to enjoy a specialty of Nunatsiavut, an Inuit tradition of cutting and outdoor drying known as pitsik. It's a special way of living in Makkovik, and Nellie Winters has an enviable view of it all from her house near the water. She has spent most of her life here pursuing her passion for Inuit art and craft, a passion that took shape in an even more northerly place in Labrador.
I was born in Makkovik, 1938.
Nellie's mom was a midwife in Makkovik. Her dad, a postman who delivered mail by dog team to remote communities. She remembers hunting, fishing, berry picking, and working alongside her parents from a very young age.
It seems like spring, summer, fall, winter. There's always work to be done.
Her mother taught her to sew when she was just a little girl.
Back then was mostly learning how to make skin boots. First pair I made a black spoon boots. I made little ones I made for my doll. Yeah, I love making boots.
Back then, there was pressure on Inuit communities to adopt a different kind of education. Moravian missionaries operated schools in Labrador. When Nellie was just 11 years old, she was sent to boarding school in Nain. She missed her family, but found happiness in lessons focused on craft.
Oh, they had nights for doing things. They had Wednesday nights for knitting. And then there'd be another night for doing the Inuit.
Nellie fell in love with embroidery and these colorful and joyful Inuit figures known as Inuit, little people. After 2 years of school in Nain, Nellie returned to Makkovik and continued to create with her hands.
When I got home, and I started doing everything, different things myself. I only got into making mitts and caps and stuff like that on my own.
In 1956, the tightly woven connections to her culture would be challenged again. The provincial government forcibly relocated all the residents of Makkovik to communities farther south. Nellie and her family would go to live in Makkovik.
They gave us 2 weeks to be ready. They didn't give anyone time to think about it, you know? Yeah.
Nellie's parents were originally from Makkovik, so she tried to look at the move in a positive light.
I think the way I took it, my parents was coming home.
And Nellie quickly made Makkovik her home. She started a family and raised 11 children, all the while broadening her artistic skill. She started making coats and dolls. She took up caribou hair tufting and continued to perfect her embroidery. Nellie added details like snow to winter trees that became a signature of her style and creativity. She opened a craft store in Makkovik and sold her creations to admirers of her work. Nellie taught craft to children in the local school and taught members of her community how to make winter duffel coats. And when she wasn't crafting, she worked as a translator, of the Inuktitut language. In 1976, Nellie gained special recognition. She was invited to the Montreal Olympics, where she and other Canadian craftspeople showcased their work. People were fascinated with what you were doing.
Yeah. There was a fellow from the States wanted to know if I'd work for him, you know, make parkers. I said, I can't. I haven't got a factory. I only got my hands.
Nellie estimates her hands have made at least 500 parkas. Purses and mitts, far too many to count. And when you ask her why, the simplest of explanations: her pure love of making.
I like doing it, yeah. I can't stay to one thing long. I gotta be doing different things all the time, even now. Yeah.
You like being busy?
Yeah.
At 87 years old, Nellie's busy hands are slowing down some. In 2021, she made her last parka. The coat will be on display at Nunatsiavut's Government Assembly Building in Hopedale. For all that she's made and for all the compliments she's received, Nellie is modest about her achievements and her talent. After all these years and all her designs, the Inukalooks seem to be her favorites. So, Nellie, this I know is a special piece of material that you've kept. Tell me a little bit about it.
This piece of material is the bottom of a coat, which I made for my sister-in-law in 1964. Well, it wore right out. You can even see patches on there, but the embroidery is still good. So when she wore it out, she was going to dump the coat, so I just cut this off and kept it because I know it was too good to be dumped. So that's how I used to make coats long ago. A lot of stuff on it.
The embroidery is so precise and it's so tight that it has stood the test of time. Is that a meaningful piece for you to
Oh yeah, I will always keep this because it's special. When you see something coming alive when you're doing it, makes you feel good too.
Nellie's life's work has been keeping Inuit craft and tradition alive, and her family has followed her example. We'll find out more about their talent when we come back.
The mitts is beautiful, they're good. That's the kind of skin mitts we used to make long ago.
The reason why I put the blue on and the green is because a lot of people buy them to match their snowsuits they're wearing.
But me,
Yes.
I suppose I'm older,
And
I'd add natural,
Yeah.
a gray or a black.
And what about the stitching on them now?
Well, the stitching is good.
Nellie Winters has a keen eye for detail. She's been sewing her entire life, a skill she passed on to her daughter, Blanche. Blanche has made coats, mittens, and slippers for an upcoming auction, and she wants her mom's opinions about her work.
Everything in the coats is okay. But see, when you cut out a coat, a lady's coat,
You're supposed to go in.
you got to have it in more.
Yeah.
To fit that part.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Blanche values her mother's feedback.
Color's nice.
She's observed her strong hands provide for her family since she was a small child.
She never stopped. Like, she didn't only raise 11 children. She fished. We'd go bake apple picking. She cleaned. She worked. Like, she had, and then she'd be doing orders of coats, boots, mitts, slippers, whatever she could do. She was so skilled in everything. Whatever she touched, she was unreal, and it was always perfect. She made a lot of clothes for us, and I used to look forward to Christmas because I always got a new coat.
Now, Blanche is known for her own coats. She takes orders from all over Newfoundland and Labrador.
Okay, this one here is my favorite because I like the natural sealskin.
A few years ago, she and other designers from Canada's 4 Inuit regions were asked to make parkas for Canada Goose using traditional skills and designs. Blanche made 5 coats that featured embroidery she had learned from her mom.
They went to Toronto, and my daughter happened to be there on meetings. So then she went to the Yorkdale Mall, and my coat was in the window, so she got her picture took with it. But anyway, it was great, and I had a letter from the Premier congratulating me. And then I posted the coats that I made, and everybody commented. It was really nice. I enjoyed that. And look what I did. I made my ulu pocket.
Yeah.
Blanche is following in her mom's footsteps and carrying on a love of Inuit art and craft. And she's not the only one.
It just came naturally with all our family. Like, it's in our blood, you know? There's at least 10 of us out of 11 that can do crafts. And then there's her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren are starting now too.
For a tiny community of 350 people, Makkovik's craft shop is more of an art gallery. So much of the work influenced or inspired in some way by Aunt Nellie, as she's affectionately known. Blanche's traditional skin boots are on display, Inuit carvings by Nellie's daughter Dorothy and her husband, seal fur earrings made by her daughter Bella, art cards by her granddaughter Roxanne Nakasak, pieces of jewelry by her great-granddaughter Michelle Nakasak. Everywhere you turn, on just about every shelf, a piece of work with a link back to one creative soul. And Nellie's work is still featured prominently here too. Shelves filled with her stunning mittens and her signature embroidery. Liz Evans Mitchell is on the board of the Craft Center. She says the whole community is richer for Nellie Winters' contributions over the years.
When I was in grade school, we'd go down to her place Wednesday afternoons from 1 until 3. She taught us how to make things like sealskin boots. We did some embroidery. We'd also make bags out of moose hide and paint on them. Her love for crafting, her love for teaching how to make things, and her willingness to teach others is something that definitely deserves a lot of recognition.
I think you should add a little something to match this here.
Maybe an embroidery or
Little,
ulu?
a little ulu or something.
As her mom had done, Blanche taught craft at the local school too. She gave lessons for 20 years.
You try to teach your kids to appreciate the culture that we have.
Blanche wishes she had spent more time soaking up all of her mother's mastery.
I cannot do the stuff like the Inuit dolls and the canoes, all that kind of stuff like my mom does. And I would love to know how to do a lot of that. But so maybe one day I'll come down and sit with my mom again and watch her do it, and she can teach me.
And then you got to make it smaller.
Nellie is mindful how quickly local knowledge can disappear. And so she's developed a kind of guide for her children to keep her designs alive.
First thing you work is the fur on the hood.
Yeah.
And then you work the binding.
Yeah.
The binding on the sleeve. Outline the edge first, running stitch.
Yeah.
And you fill that in back and forth.
Yeah. My mother done up a booklet each for all of her kids. And it's her actual drawings of all her Inuit looks, add wildlife, flowers, to pass it on to us so that once she's, well, what I'm trying to say is, when it's all said and done, we can carry on what she was doing all her life and make her proud.
And when you do the dog, you running stitch all the way around first.
Yeah. I can keep it for the rest of my life. Plus, I can hand it on down to the next generation and the next and the next. She wants us to continue on her legacy, right? Continue sewing, embroidering, and making beautiful things like she made. And I will do that if I can.
When we come back, Blanche has passed on her creativity too. We'll meet her talented daughter, Nellie's granddaughter, artist Jessica Winters.
would be the back, right?
Blanche Winters and her mother Nellie are seldom idle. They have spent their lives using their hands and their imaginations.
I usually sew it first before I start to decorate it.
Yeah.
Nellie passed her creative flair on to Blanche, and in turn, Blanche encouraged her own children to express themselves through art.
I always grew up knowing that I come from a super creative family. Like, I always heard it when I was young, you know, it was kind of like this, felt like this destiny, you know, like everyone was just watching me to see if I'd kind of have that same talent, I guess.
And she does. Though Blanche's daughter, Jessica Winters, gravitated more to drawing and painting than craft making, her work often features her mother's hands.
I just think it's sort of like magic what she does with her hands. I've been told that hands are like the hardest part of the body to draw. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, which I like to give myself.
Jessica describes a painting inspired by the hands of her grandmother.
Just sort of thinking about how her knowledge has transferred to my mom and then further to me. And her embroidered flowers are these really big flowers, the main kind of centerpiece of the painting. And then in the background, it's coming from a slipper tongue. So my mom, she's stitching into the hide. My hand is actually in the foreground holding, so usually two hands to sew. So it's my grandma's embroidery, my mom's hand, and my hand.
Like her mom Blanche and her grandmother Nellie, Jessica is making a name for herself. She's getting a lot of recognition for pieces like this one of lichens on rocks. At 28, Jessica has exhibited her work at galleries across the country and been awarded artist residencies in Canada and in Spain. A special exhibit showing more of her family's talent is on display at the Room's Provincial Art Gallery. Her Aunt Dinah Anderson's elaborate grasswork, and behind it on the wall, the beauty of this Inuit tradition captured on Jessica's canvas. This work led to Jessica being longlisted for the Sobey Art Award, the most prestigious art award in Canada. But for all the attention, she stays grounded. A pair of her mother's handmade slippers sit near the foot of her easel, and in her bag, a coin purse made by her grandmother.
She has a bunch of grandchildren, I think over 60 of us. And somehow she still manages to make every one of them feel special. You know, she often gives all of us birthday and Christmas gifts, which just shows you how much she makes. I use it every day. It's just a little piece of her that, yeah, I can use every day.
The tangible gifts from her grandmother are special, but what Jessica appreciates even more is the gift of Nellie's lifelong devotion to Inuit art and craft, a dedication that has influenced so many.
I wonder about it a lot, you know, is it inherited or is it just because we grew up seeing it and we're like forced to think about things in a way that's creative, you know? Was it nurture or nature? Maybe both, I'm not sure. I love what I do, so I'm super grateful to be raised by my mom and my gram.
Jessica was proud to be with her grandmother when Memorial University acknowledged Nellie Winters' significant cultural contribution.
I think the fact that she got her honorary doctorate from Memorial says a lot about her contributions. Being a teacher, having her own craft shop, an entrepreneur, and still doing it now at her age, I think is testament to how much it means to her and its influence on communities all across the north and the south.
When you're gonna do the boots, you start from this corner,
Yeah.
go up here, always finish to a corner.
One day, Jessica will inherit this collection of her grandmother's drawings. As a young Inuk, She is so thankful for Nellie's forethought.
You know, every generation we kind of lose a piece of all that history, all that knowledge. I know she's definitely seen it herself, like we've all seen it in Indigenous communities, but you know, these designs are hers. And she wants her family to inherit that. And I think she's starting to grasp that now, you know, how valuable her work is.
For Nellie, the shapes of the Inuktitut are important, but what matters more is the joy and satisfaction she derived from making them. A joy she hopes others may find in the future.
Maybe they'll keep it going and learn it to the younger ones later. I mightn't be around to say if it's good or bad, but they might keep it going, you know.
And that's how Nellie Winters' legacy will live on.